a very special place in my heart because this is where I purchased truck number 2, actually 2 years ago. So my students want to know all about the truck buying process. So that's what we'll be discussing today. But first of all, can you give me some background information about your company? How did you get started? How long you've been in the industry?
I've been in the industry since 17 years old. I'm 53 now, so I've been in it for a very, very long time. Trucking has always been in my heart. I tried other things, and I always end up in trucking. So trucking is a good thing. It's a culture, you know. It's something where once you get in, you start to learn. It's, you know, it kind of takes you over, you know. Yeah. So it's nice. You start fixing up your truck, you know. You're hooking it up, and going on the road, you know, you see the country, you're making money, you know, so, you know, trucking it can be fun, you know, but I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm 53 now, have the dealership since 2007, you know, and we're touching every part of trucking as possible. Logistics, financing, selling the truck, putting companies together, helping customers get established and everything. So it's been a fun journey. But yes, we've been doing this for a while. We're very well abreast in trucking, and it's fun.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So a lot of the students, when they're first getting into trucking, they wonder whether or not they should purchase a brand new truck or a used truck. Can you provide us some insight as to which one is better, or for someone who's brand new to the industry?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of things to consider, right? So when you're a rookie, for lack of a better word, right? So you're a rookie, you're just getting started, you're getting your feet wet, right? There's a lot of things to consider on which truck to purchase. So a lot of people think low miles, you know, brand new truck, never break down, you know, I'm going to do great. But that's not, you know, so true. It's not accurate. So you would want to consider first, where are you going to work? How much money are you going to make? Or what's the maximum you could possibly make there? And you kind of have to rewind a little and break it down and consider how much money a brand new truck's going to cost you as to a used truck. So with a used truck, when you're purchasing a used truck, you want to see what is your monthly payment? What is that going to cost? Because obviously you're working to make money, so you want to look at the economic value of what you're doing so that you can accurately gauge. If I get a new truck and I'm paying $2,000 a month, for an example, and if I get a used truck, it's $1,000. So the difference is $1,000 more in your pocket. So you want to consider what it is you're going to make, and then consider what the net profit is going to be for you monthly. Because at the end of the day, this is why we're doing this, right? We're doing this to earn money and Absolutely. To, you know, get some financial freedom. So you want to look at that. Also, with a new truck, you get some warranties, you get some other things. So there's some positive aspects to that as well. You can get a used truck and put an aftermarket warranty and still have a warranty as well, and still have a lower monthly payment. So from a business perspective, if you're building a business, I would then say to you, get a late model, you know, decent truck, something mileage, you know, people think lower miles is going to be better, less breakdowns, but that's also not 100% accurate. You could have a truck with high miles and still perform and do well and never break down, you know, so your preventive maintenance and all those other things have to also kick in. You have to be disciplined with these things, because this is a machine that's constantly working, pulling 80,000 pounds or, right. you know, pulling a lot of things are going to break down, you know, all the friction stuff going on in motors, you're going to have breakdowns. So you want to try to be ready for those things, you know, prepare for the worst but hope for the best type of thing. Yeah. So to answer the question, there's no real direct answer to that. If you have a big company, you have a direct line where you have a direct contract with somebody and you know what's coming in and you don't have to kind of be searching, then yeah, maybe you can say a brand new truck is a little better. I'm going to have less breakdowns. It's newer. It's this, that. Some of those are true. Your expenses are going to be high, so your overhead will be a little bit higher. So there might be an advantage, a little advantage in having a newer truck as opposed to comparison to a used truck, right? But again, you have to take in other factors because it's not always accurate. You know, sometimes a used truck with less money, depending on what you're going to be doing with that truck, will really determine, you know, what the best course of action would be, whether new or used. So for some people, new truck would be beneficial. And then for others, with what they're doing, it would behoove them to get a used truck and they'll still get better results because there'll be more money going into their pocket in what they're doing. So to be more specific, you're doing local runs, you don't want an over-the-road brand new truck because the local stuff is not going to pull in the money that you're going to need. And so although you might meet all your monthly obligations, you want to have some extra money. The extra money is really what, right. That's what you're putting in the bank. That's what's, going to create your future and expand on that. So I would say really analyze what it is you're doing, what work you're doing, what kind of money is that generating, and then kind of work backwards into a monthly payment and say, well, with this type of monthly payment, it fits a brand new truck budget and I still do well, okay, get the new truck. But if not, then look at the financial. And I really think that that's really the litmus test or the baseline that you should be going for is money in your pocket. Because at the end of the day, that's really what we all want to do.
Exactly.
You want to have that money in your pocket.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Now, when it comes to trucks, manual versus automatic, which one is better, for someone who's getting in, what do we look for?
Right. That's a good question. With the automatic manual, it's really preference, right? So, I'm a man, I like ethnical women, whether it's a black, white, Hispanic, right? We all have a preference, right? Some people would prefer a certain culture, you like salsa, I want a nice Spanish girl, this, that. There's different things. So it's a preference, really. Automatic, I'm more comfortable in an automatic. Or I'm driving through the city, I don't want to be, changing from light to light and hitting these gears all day long. An automatic might be more comfortable. What I'm seeing a trend now is a lot of the new recent rookie drivers, as I said before, as they're coming in, they're getting automatic only driver's license. So with restricted license like that, you don't really have a choice. But there is no better, manual or automatic, I don't think. The only time I think that really would matter is if you're running the mountains often, then manual might work a little better with, how you're downshifting or when you're on the decline of the mountain. Maybe might be more beneficial, safer, if you will. But again, it's just a preference.
Thank you. So there's, of course, so many different brands for trucks. You have Freightliner, Kentworth, Mack. I mean, so many different kinds. So in your opinion, are there some that's better than others? Can you provide some information about that?
Okay, yeah. Well, again, it's a personal, thing. Some people like Volvos. Some people want Peterbilt. Other drivers, which is in the culture, is I want the extended hood. I want that long hood. So a lot of guys like that. Again, it's just preference. There's really no better truck, if you will. There is some talk in the industry, a max force motor is no good. Don't buy this, don't buy that. So, there's a lot of chatter, if you will. There really isn't one better than the other. If you're buying a yellow cab in New York City to be a cab driver, right? You're doing it to earn some money, right? So if you're going to get this and you're going to be driving around, you want to keep your overhead low. So you wouldn't buy a Mercedes S500 or a Maybach to run as a taxi cab because your payment's going to be so high. You're going to have to take some extra fares to make that payment, right? So the same thing with trucks, right? You're building a business. Sometimes it's best to be a little frugal, get that yellow cab Ford or Chevy that's not going to cost you so much to fix, repair, and keep the overhead down and pocket as much money as you can. Once you've done well, you have a little history, you know what you're doing in the industry, and you want to have, something fancy, then you go out and buy your Mercedes-Benz. Now, at that point, what's your Mercedes-Benz, right? Is it a Peterbilt, or is it a Kenworth, or is it that Volvo 780, or, whatever it may be. But, again, that would be your preference. So you might like Rolls-Royce, right? I might like Bentley. So which one's better? They're both nice,
right?
So it's the same thing with trucks. They're all nice. They're all there to do their work. It's not really a luxury thing. It's more of a work thing, right? So I would say be smart about your work thing. Get something with a lower overhead so you make more money. Now, if you're making more money and now you want to have something fancy, then you can either customize your truck and put all the gadgets and stuff in there and the gizmos that make it really nice, or you go out and buy what you believe is the better truck. But to answer that question truthfully, there isn't really something that I can say, this one's better than this one because, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people will make an argument about this
Right.
and say, oh no, this one's better because this, and someone will tell you something different. But at the end of the day, it's really truly a preference.
Okay. So it's a preference. So let's talk about the different engine types. You have Cummins, Detroit Diesel, Packard. Are there some distinctions between the different engines? Are there ones that's perhaps cheaper to repair? So can you give us some information about that?
Oh yeah. There are many different motors and manufacturers, right? And then with these motors, you have like Packard manufacturers ISX Cummins. So they're pretty much the same manufacturers, different components that separate the two. Which one's better? Again, a preference, you know.
Right.
You might want to take a Detroit. I would say a pro, if you will, on having a Detroit engine is that most people stock, you know, Detroit motor parts, Freightliner parts, you know, international parts. So when you have something like that, in comparison to, let's say, like a Volvo or Volvo motor, most people won't stock those parts, right? So you have to think also along the lines of this. So if I buy a Volvo motor and a Volvo truck, the truck breaks down. Now I have to order a part. Now I'm down 2 days. I'm down 3 days waiting for those parts to come in. Whereas on a Detroit, you can call locally. Your local mechanic might have that part, you know? So they're more accessible. They're easier. They're convenient. So when you're down, you're making money by being on the road. You got to keep moving. So having some of these readily available parts, easy to fix, where all mechanics kind of inclined to know about that particular motor, makes it a little bit more attractive. You know, the repair is a little less expensive, so it makes it more attractive. So is the motor better because it performs better, or is it just better because it's a little more convenient in the grand scheme of things while you're working? So you have to really consider that too.
Yeah.
So which one's the best motor? I prefer Volvo. Now, that's just my personal preference, right? Some people will tell you ISX Cummins is the best motor. You know, don't ever buy anything unless you got the redhead, you know? So it's like, no way. For other people, you know, some people say, I can't stand an ISX. Give me a Detroit any day. Caterpillar was, you know, you still have some old Caterpillars. They're not being made anymore, but there's still people who say, you know what, I want a Caterpillar. And they're only looking for a Caterpillar. I've had that happen here many times. So really, again, it's a personal preference. None of those engines are 100% where they're not infallible. Some of them and all of them have one little something that they're known for, but, you know, nonetheless, they still perform, they do well, and again, it's really just a personal preference. All those motors work well. The only one that has a bad reputation are the Max Force motors, and you know, some banks won't even finance them. They say, hey, that's a Max Force, we're staying clearly away from that, right? So to answer your question, it's really just a personal preference. I don't believe, and I could be wrong, you know, a mechanic might come here and say, oh, no, and give you some technicalities. I'm not familiar with those, but in the grand, you know, just quick view of the whole thing, I would say it's a personal preference. Some trucks are more convenient than others with respect to repairs or parts or people that are available to fix those or qualified to fix them, you know? So I think the Detroit stands out on most of the motors with respect to that, you know, the availability of parts and being able to fix them quick.
Awesome. So when you acquire a truck, you bring in a truck to your dealership to sell, do you end up making any repairs to that truck? Like, what's the process in which you prepare that truck for, you know, to be able to sell it to a customer?
Right. Absolutely. That's something we take pride in here. I make sure, first of all, before I buy a truck, and I don't usually go to auctions. I very rarely go there. I try to stay out of there, right? I try to deal with bigger logistics companies, stuff that, quote unquote, has been, you know, taken care of, and preventive maintenance and stuff like that. So I try to get a better truck with that. Once I get that truck, I have my mechanics go through them, diagnostics and all of that, and I try to address anything that we can see or hear or, you know, think that we, you know, is wrong or might be questionable. I pride myself in going through my trucks thoroughly. I also advise all my clients, any customer that comes in here, that before they drive out of a dealership, get a mechanic that's your mechanic, that's protecting your interest, and have them come check the truck out before you drive away. Don't just look at my bill of health, because it could be biased. I might say, well, let me see if I get away with not fixing this, right? And let me just be clear. I never do that. All right, I pride myself on that because I'm in the trucking end also. I'm doing the logistics. So I know what that pain is when your truck's breaking down or when your truck is having issues and, and you're like, oh my God, I just bought this thing. I shouldn't be having this. That's the worst publicity you want, where your guys are upset, something broke, and it just could have taken me, a couple of dollars to fix and give it to you right. So I make sure, and I pride myself on that. That means more to me than selling you the truck. I want to make sure that I know my conscience is clear. I gave you a truck with the cleanest bill of health. Now, I will tell you, these are used trucks, and sometimes we go through them. No mechanic can forecast something that is going to happen.
You're right.
So you can jump in a truck, just left the dealership, and you're driving home, and on your way, you blow a hose. It can happen. You can get a flat tire. Anything can happen. So, you definitely want to take the time to go through your truck thoroughly with a mechanic that's protecting your interest in your investment that you're doing now. So there's a good way to safeguard yourself. Get a mechanic, have them go there, check everything out before you drive away. And then if there is a repair done, have them come back after it's all done and have them check it again. Make sure your truck is right. Because once you leave, most dealerships sell trucks, no warranties. You're on your own, that's it. So make sure it's right, you drive away. And then if you want to safeguard yourself from that, get an extended warranty. In my personal opinion, True North is the way to go. But that's my personal opinion. Again, personal preferences.
Yeah.
Some people might tell you another company, I won't name them because I don't like them. But True North, definitely, that's where you want to go. Definitely make sure your truck's right before you drive away. Come to the dealership with your mechanic and then drive away with your truck. And, we check them. We have a mechanic go through them. We paint them. We fix them. We refurbish everything. Cracks on the windshield, got to get fixed. DOT won't do anything, Your doors got to lock. Your keys got to run right. These some of the small little things that sometimes gets overlooked when you're buying. They look at the major stuff and then the little knickknacks get left alone. So you're buying stuff and you say, man, I still got to fix this. I got to do this, And you think you're getting a good deal because you're saying, I'm saving some money, but I still got to fix this stuff. I'd say leave with the dealership. Make sure everything's working.
Yes.
Everything is right. You just bought something. You wouldn't leave with a car from a dealership at a car place with it still needing something, right? So, go to a place that has that same mentality that wants to sell you a good truck. I don't advertise anywhere, right? So I'm not in any truck paper. I'm not in any commercials.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I haven't done that at all. And all of my business is through word of mouth. So I do the right thing by you. You're going to tell a few people. Those people are going to come back and say, hey, this guy spoke highly of you. I saw his truck. Man, that truck looked good. Everything was great. It was working right. He's making money. How can I do the same thing? And so really in doing that has worked very well for me over the last few years. Everybody that comes to me usually comes to me referred by somebody else. And I think that that's your best customer because now they're coming in with their guard down a little. They're saying, hey, well, this guy, I saw what he did. I saw how he got done. This guy had really bad credit. I don't know how he got approved. I need the same thing, Yeah. So we are able to do that as well here. Anybody who comes in, we approve everybody. And I make it my business to try to align myself with those sources, whether it's private money or wherever, so that I can accommodate my customer. It gives me my edge to the other dealerships. So when we evaluate our vehicles, to get back to the question, we go through them extensively. Anything that doesn't pass DOT, we fix. Anything that doesn't sit right gets fixed. Awesome. Because it is a better product for you. It's going to work better for you, and your success is my success. If you do well, you're going to tell people, hey, this is where I got this truck. Go to Elite. Those guys, they do the right thing. Yeah. It's not, hey, let's just get this guy in a truck, get out of here, let me make my money. To me, it's a little more personal. I want to make a connection with you. I want to grow when you grow. When you want a trailer, I want you to come back here because I also sell trailers. You want to expand like you. You came back for your second truck. I want you to come right back where you started so that we grow together. You want to pull a fleet together. You wanted 5 trucks. You need to pull a quick fleet. I can help you. I can do that for you. So
great.
yes, we are very extensive in refurbishing our vehicles. That's our number one thing here. It's important.
Yeah, I think that definitely makes a difference because when I first started my journey over 3 years ago, and I'm going to all these different dealerships, and I'm really mad because I didn't know about Elite when I first started. So I ended up getting my first truck at another dealership. But going to these different places, like I've gone to places where you can see like rust on the trucks, like it looks like the trucks are falling apart, and they're like, "Hey, you want this truck?" And I was like, I don't know. So the fact that you guys really take pride in addressing those issues and making sure that truck is road ready, it makes a world of a difference. So I thank you for doing that.
You're
because
welcome.
not everybody does that.
You're right. And here in Miami, we're we got a black eye, if you will. Some of us dealerships get a bad rap for somebody else's, shenanigans. But I make it very clear to everyone who comes here, and I tell them outright, make sure you have a mechanic ready. When you look at this truck, even if you're buying from me, that I know the truck looks great and you think it's great, don't take my word for it. Bring your mechanic, have it checked out. I always coach everybody to do that. So I think people do appreciate that. And when we have that conversation and when I tell them this thing up front, they realize right from the very beginning, this differentiates me from everybody else because not everybody is so keen on making sure you're right when you leave here out of their dealership. So definitely check out your truck. It's get the extra mile. So when you're putting your down payment down, save a few bucks for the mechanic who's got to come and check out the truck first.
Good. So let's talk about mechanics because we all know that there's good mechanics and there's some bad mechanics out there. So can you provide us with some tips as to far as like how can someone find a reputable mechanic in their area, what to look for?
Okay. Well, if you're in Miami, come see us, okay? We'll take care of the service for you.
Okay.
But if it's a good question, it's really hard to really know that. I think to actually find if your mechanic works well for you, it's going to be trial and error. I think, after working with this guy 1 or 2 times, I'm going to tell you a little nasty trick I've done.
Okay.
Maybe this can help you as well. The Freightliners have been known to have an issue with a code that you just press and your AC turns back on. Sometimes it turns off and you kind of reset it with a code on your radio. It's something I learned, right? And in the past, I've gone to places to have that address, and instead of them just putting the code in and resetting my AC, and that doesn't always work, but it does for most of the times, right? So and I didn't know of that, and so when I went in, all of a sudden I needed, this whole new AC system, and it works for you have to pay so much money.
Yeah.
So with some things like that, I've gone to mechanics knowing already what my problem is and kind of test their honesty. You see, and I've kind of crossed off a few because they came to me with something that was far-fetched and wrong. So when choosing a mechanic that I think experience lends to that, I would probably say to you, try to get one recommended from somebody who's already been dealing with somebody who's been satisfied, who knows this guy's honest, who knows, because it's a business like everything else. And when you go to a mechanic, they try to upsell you. Hey, you need brakes. Hey, this tire's bad. Hey, you got this. And they kind of point and highlight other things with hopes that, you keep spending money at their place, especially if they own the place. I mean, that's what they do. I have a shop. I know, what we have to do to make money. And any place you go, this is what you have to do. You have to upsell, because if people don't know they need something fixed, they won't know. If you're telling them, then they want to fix it, right? So we try to tell people, look, your tire's getting a little bald. That's a little sketchy. DOT right there. You're right on the borderline. So we'll let them know. Hey, this belt right here is wearing down. This can go on you a few miles down the road. You might want to address this. So when I say upsell, they're kind of just pointing out other things that could possibly go wrong. Yeah. But I think just going through it. In high school, I said a quote, right? And it said, nothing is truly learned until experienced, right? So sometimes people don't learn. And I think I finished it by saying words of a stubborn fool, right? Because a stubborn person wants to learn it and feel it and, you say, don't touch this, it's hot. And the stubborn guy goes and touches it and says, oh, damn, I should have listened, you know? And then the other person says, well, that person touched it. They got burnt. They said it's hot. I'm not going nowhere near that, you know? And so some people learn by not actually going through the experience. And that's why I said stubborn for But I say the best way to find a good mechanic is to usually get it recommended by somebody, or get that person recommended to you by another individual who says, hey, I've been using this guy. He's honest. He's good. And I would think that that's the best way, right? And if you don't have that available, then what you do is you go take your truck to 2 or 3 different places and try to get some kind of estimate, and then just see who you kind of have some synergy with, and then maybe just work with the person you are more comfortable working with, where you can communicate well with, and you know, kind of expand on that, where maybe bring your fleet of trucks there, and now this is the guy you're using, right? But word of mouth is probably the best, and experience is the only way to really find out who's a good mechanic or not. You know, and some mechanics are good for one thing and they're not good for the other thing, and you might have to find a different mechanic. So one guy works on engines and the other guy just works on you know, transmissions. You know, so there are specialty mechanics as well. So you would have to kind of play with that as well, like the same way. Either get recommended, or you go in there kind of knowing what it is and say, hey, you know, what can you do for me? And, you know, how close can you work with me? Because let's face it, we don't want to pay a lot of money for our repairs. Right? If we don't have a warranty and we're coming out of pocket, we want to come out with the least amount of money. So you want a fair mechanic who's going to work with you, who also realizes that, you know, they have a client that's always going to come to them. You know, and keep that in mind. Look, I'm coming to you. I just spent, you know, $10,000 with you on the last repair. Go easy on me on this one, you know? So you have to kind of have that kind of working relationship. I think it's important. And it just relieves a lot of stress too. When you have a good mechanic like that, who you know, who you've been working with for a while, and it can help you down the road on a day where you might need something fixed right away. You quite didn't get paid yet. You're waiting for an invoice to come in or something. You can say, hey, my man, fix this for me. I got you later. And he knows you, and he's like, okay, and you're running and you're going. And so it's, I think, a component that can help you in your trucking business to have that guy. Have a relationship with that mechanic or that service place, where when you come in there, it's not like, hey, give me my money or you're not going nowhere, you know? How some of these guys treat you, it's like, give me my money and I only want cash, you know? It's like, wait, what? They're squeezing you. So
you're like, wait a minute, I'm low on cash, like cash only?
I'm on the road and I'm like this, oh yeah, the other guy gave me a bad check, so I'm not taking checks. Well, hey, that's not me, you know? So in those type of instances, it kind of helps when you have that one go-to person or place that you can always go to, that knows you, works with you, knows your truck. You're going to the same place all the time. These guys start to know your truck. Hey, this wasn't like this the last time, you know, or look at the picture. This was like this before. Look at it now. And, you know, that kind of helps you, and you learn. You know, that guy talks to you and you learn, and then it builds you up to a point where sometimes you already know what's wrong without going to the mechanic anymore, and you go and fix it yourself for those of you that are do-it-yourselfers, you know. But getting a good mechanic is important. That's a good component in your success. You're going to need that.
Absolutely. I agree because I know I've spent a whole lot of money on maintenance over the past few years. So it's definitely key that you have a good mechanic, a reputable mechanic, because it can make or break your company.
It definitely can.
I've had some repairs over the road that I was just like, what in the world? $7,000, $5,000 here, there. You fix it one week, the next week is another issue. Like, what is going on? So finding a great mechanic is definitely a key component to staying in business in the trucking industry. So now let's shift gears. Let's talk about financing. You know, you have individuals who may come in as an owner-operator. They have their CDL, but you also have individuals who are investors. They don't have their CDL. Can you give us explain to us the difference in that finance process for someone who has a CDL versus one who does not have?
Having a CDL obviously is a plus, because you're in the business, you know the business, you've been in the business, right? So banks like that. Okay, this guy knows what he's doing in the business. I'd rather chance with this guy with in comparison to maybe the doctor or the nurse, the professional, right, who knows nothing about trucking. And if this driver leaves the truck in California, how is this person going to get the truck back to? So the banks the banks actually working to do financing for those type of investors take those things into consideration, believe it or not. They're thinking, okay, well, how much money does this guy have in the event that something like this happens? Is he going to be able to carry, you know, the note and the business when this truck's not moving? because if they don't know anything about this business and this truck's sitting somewhere, they can't just hop in it and go, right? So there's other factors that banks have to consider for financing those types of individuals. Whereas if you have somebody who might have some marginal credit or some blemishes, but is the actual driver, owner, the operator, knows this business, knows where to go work, knows, the ins and outs of the business, that guy stands to have a better chance for financing because the bank says, okay, my money's invested with this guy. It's a little safer. He knows what he's doing. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. And if the guy that he's investing in doesn't do well for him, then this whole thing just falls apart. And with the lack of knowledge of the understanding of this business, that professional, that individual who's investing or who's just an investor may not know how to pull out of and I've seen that happen. I have trucks on my lot here now on consignment from those individuals that are saying, hey, this didn't work out. Please help me, Bill. Like, what do I do? I've had to say, okay, look, borrow my driver. Let me get your truck. Bring it here. Let's make sure it's okay, and tried to help them get out of, what they were in. So banks are a little bit harder on those guys despite the credit or whatever, those investors, non-CDLs, but they're doable. There are banks out there that will finance them and get them approved. And for those people, I have a logistics company also besides the business where we can help them say, hey, come work with us. Let us show you the business. Because if that guy succeeds, he's going to want another truck.
Yeah.
He's going to want another trailer, and we grow together. So we do that as well. We sell trucks. We can work with you in giving you work if you need or showing you the business. And we have the service end of it. We have the finance end of it. So we pretty much are very well engulfed in trucking. So we tend to help customers from every aspect. I have customers that have been driving for a year and they're calling me up, hey, my stuff isn't working out. Can you help me out with a job? These guys aren't paying me. It's not going well. There's problems here. And that tends to happen a lot in this industry. When you're working with some of the smaller companies, everybody's trying to survive out here. And that happens a lot. So when I have the opportunity to give these guys a help, I do. And I put them into a company, or I'll give them a name, or somebody call. I'll say, hey, jump on with us and until you get your stuff together, So we try to help people be successful in that. As far as for financing, we can get everybody approved. So if you're
Everybody.
Okay. The only person that I cannot help is if you have child support issues on your credit. You have that, I can't help you. And there's a bunch of reasons why, but we'll just leave it at that for now. Foreclosures we can overcome, repos we can overcome. But obviously, we're not talking prime rates or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'll get you approved. I'll overcome your challenges. Just do the right thing. Make your payments. And, next truck, we won't have to go that route again. So when guys come and they actually take me up on that program, I try to coach them. And I provide a name and say, look, go fix your credit. Call this person. They're going to charge you $50. No money. So it's like I'm not setting you up so that you can have to spend a whole lot of money over here. Spend some little money here. Get your credit fixed, because down the road, you're going to need a credit line. You're going to need a fuel card. You're going to need some other things that might help you in your industry.
Absolutely.
So right now, I'm helping you with the first stepping stone in fixing your credit, right? I got you this loan for this truck. Now you be responsible. Go back, pay your debt, fix your credit, do what you have to do, because your business is going to be it's necessary for your business to expand, to grow. Down the road, you're going to need that credit. Down the road, you're going to need to buy a trailer. You're going to need to buy another truck. Who knows? So whatever it is you need, your credit is, that's how everything works in America. So you essentially have to address it. You have to fix it and get that credit back up to par. So we can help you from beginning to end, even after your purchase, to keep you going, to help you in ensuring your success in the trucking business.
Awesome. Now let's talk about the current market. We know that 2022 was tough for everybody in the trucking industry. Now we're in 2023. What do you think is the key component to staying in business when rates are low on the load board, the diesel fuel is high? Like, what's the key element to staying in business?
Yeah, that's a very tough question. God. Pray. I'm spiritual, so, God is my everything. So I pray. And in those difficult times, I pray. One, it's a mental thing. You start to try to focus, and now you're grabbing hold of everything, and you're saying, okay, God, let's go. So you're getting your team, you're getting your spiritual warfare, and you're like, okay. So any challenge that you may have in life, from fiscal to whatever, always pray.
I like
That's my
that.
first
Yeah.
thing that I always say. Pray to God. God exists, prayers work, and he answers them. He's still in the miracle business, and he's still performing. So bring God into whatever you're doing. That's one. Pray when you're having your business. Pray on your truck. Say, God, hey, bless this thing. Give me traveling mercies. I'm going to be in this thing, you know? So I would first say pray. That's my first thing. Now, going forward from there, just it's, how do I say it? It's just prayer. Just God, I think, is really your best bet. Try to make some good decisions with how you're spending money, because having the capital in your bank is actually more beneficial for you. So I'll give you an example of that, and it's a little lengthy, so hopefully it's not too lengthy.
Yeah.
But this is one of the examples that I try to give my customers, because they're coming in and some banks say, well, we want 30% down, we want 40% down, 50% down, and everybody's rushing to get this money and to just turn over their money. I got to get in my truck. I got to get in my truck. Well, slow the brakes. Hold on. There's always a way to get this thing done another way. If you're rushing, it's not going to work. But if you take your time and you go a little slower, you take the time to do to search, right? I can help you find that place where you're putting down less money, right? Now, putting down less money has a whole bunch of reasoning. It's not just the money, right? So you're building a business, right? On paper, you have to look a certain way for a bank to want to invest in you with the loans or whatever you're doing, right? And by doing that is by having capital in your bank account, right? So that money works best for you. If you take all that money out and you deplete it and you buy your truck, let's say you're buying it cash, right? You think, oh, I don't have a bill, I'm buying a truck cash. You buy your truck cash. Now your company has no money. You used up all the money. So on paper now your company looks weak. The value of your company is your asset, right? The one that you just bought. But your asset is depreciating. So on paper, if you tried to sell your company, it's worth less money, right? So you're kind of working adverse. Some of the bigger companies that are Fortune 500, that are stock exchange public trading companies, these big companies figured out, hey, I'm getting this truck with no money. Let the bank put the money up. I'm going to keep all my money here because this is going to help me with my business. It pays my salary, it pays my employer, it pays the overhead. So you need that capital. So I would advise, if you're trying to get into something, try to get into it with the least amount of capital possible, within reason. You can't get into a $100,000 truck with bad credit and say, I want to give you $1,000. I mean, come on, be realistic, right? So taking that into consideration, I would always advise you to try to put down as least amount as possible, because the money serves you better in your bank account, in building your company on paper, also for you, the security of your company. God forbid you have to fold, right? You get a health crisis or something comes in and you got to walk away from this, right? If you do, your money in your bank account is going to help you with your situation. With comparison to having now to sell your truck to get your money back. And this is a depreciating item, so now, right from the start, you're getting less, right?
Yeah.
And now somebody else smells blood, they sense your urgency, and now all of a sudden, a truck that's worth 20, they're offering you $5,000. Hey, listen, you want this is all I'm going to give you, right? And so now you're taking less because of your emergency situation, and so it always works against you that way. I would say do what the big companies do. Put down as little as possible, keep your money, make your company look better, and also the risk factor. The money serves you better in your bank account. So my advice to you, from my experience, would be keep your money as much as you can. Leave it in your bank account. It serves you better.
That's a great tip.
Yes.
Yeah, you definitely want to have those funds available, because with trucking, you just never know.
Right.
One day things are going well. The next day you have a major repair that's going to cost you $15,000. So you want to have that money available so that, you have wiggle room and you're able to maneuver and keep your company going. So that definitely is a great tip.
Right.
So we're going to wrap this up, but
Okay.
can you just give us some information as far as if there's somebody who wants to get in contact with you? What are the different services that you provide? So
Okay, absolutely. So once again, my name is Bill. Elite Truck and Trailer Sales in Miami. DBA, where our professional name is Max Rental Trailer Sales. We provide service, we provide financing, the selling of the truck. We also have a logistics company, so we can help you in that end as well. We sell trailers, we service them as well. So if ever a need arises, if you're in another state even, we can still service you. We can still provide the sale for you, whatever you need. We also can help you if you want to buy a truck somewhere else. No problem. I'm eager to help you. Come see me about financing. I can help you with financing. I have a financing company also. It's called Financing Well, WWEL, which stands for Financing with William E. Lomicky, which is my name. So that's where the name derives from. Give us a call. My cell phone number is 954-599-8340. My email, I give you my personal one to make it easy, BillLomicky@gmail.com. So if you call me or contact me, I will then give you my professional emails and so forth once we find out like what service you want, and I'll make myself available. But for the sake of just having my contact information, I'll give you my personal email, which again is Bill Lomicky, Lomicky, @gmail.com. 954-599-8340. So we provide financing, good or bad credit. We can sell trucks or trailers, whichever you prefer. Yellow iron construction equipment, if you like. We also have an in on that. And service and logistics companies. So by all means, I make myself available to you. And if not, one of my very well-trained salespeople or representatives here will be able to grab your hand, take hold of whatever your situation is, and be able to guide you through it as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bill. It has been an absolute pleasure. And once again, you're here with BGC, Boss Girl Trucking. I'm here to educate you and empower you in the trucking industry.